I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is All the Mods 10. Now, last episode, I gained access to, this, which is all the modium, and it took quite a bit of effort to actually get this material. And if you missed that, be sure to check out the previous episode. But today, we're going to be jumping into what this material can actually grant us, as this is a huge milestone in our progression through the All the Mods mod packs. I won't be able to make any of the new All the Mods gear just yet, or any of the other fancy stuff like picks and things like that, but maybe after today, it will grant us a little bit more material, and that might be a possibility very, very soon. So now, how exactly is this All the Modium going to help me? Well, it actually unlocks the ability for us to make a builder from RF Tools, which was recently added to the pack, as it just now got updated. But the builder is such a tremendous tool for gathering resources. And honestly, in my opinion, it exceeds the power of things like, for example, the Mechanism Digital Miner and many others. Because not only can you use it to actually build predefined structures that you can set up inside of cards, but you can also completely wipe an entire area. Like, it can also deconstruct along with its building function. And don't even get me started on its potentials with fluid handling. Yeah, it can actually clear fluids as well. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention too, it can place fluids. So yeah, overall, it's a pretty well-rounded tool, this said builder. And I'm going to show you how to utilize this builder the best I can, because it can be a little bit on the complicated side whenever we get into the GUI, but it could be very simple depending on how you go about setting this up. Now, the reason we needed that all the modium is because we need all the modium nuggets for the recipe for this builder. So taking some of these nuggets, and we can store them for later. Keep in mind the number that we used here, 9. This needs 4. Right? And we also need an ender pearl. And this is why we set up a mob farm, right? Tons of mods use ender pearls in their recipes. Like, I'm not kidding. There's so many use this. But there we go. We have a ton of ender pearls that we can gather right here, and we can get this made. Right now, this is just one part of the builder, because there's actually several other things that we're going to need in order to get this working. But as of right now, just keep in mind, this is a builder, and we are going to need power. We're also going to need a lever, somewhere to store items that are placed on top of this, and that's about it. Well, we are going to need a shape card, right? A shape card is going to allow us to do those things that I mentioned earlier, whether it was place or gather fluids, or build shapes with the shape card, or you have right here, just completely clear an area. And we can kind of pick and choose what we want it to do. There are different types of quarry cards. We can have it mine the ore. We can have it then replace that position with dirt, which is very server friendly. Or you can have it just completely wipe an entire area, setting it to air. So let's get this done. The one I'm really going to want right now is just going to be a clearing quarry. I think that's going to be one of the best ones to get set up. And it's going to cost a diamond pickaxe and a shovel. And it's also going to cost a shape card, which is very, very cheap. So the base quarry here places dirt. Nothing we really have to worry about there, but I do want the clearing version. The clearing version will actually remove the blocks in the area, like I said. So just surround it by glass and we're ready to go. Now, there's also a fortune quarry that you can get later on. The fortune card does cost a little bit more to make. You do need a little bit more here. It's also going to cost a bit more power, I do believe, to run. So I'm not super worried about it right yet. Later on, this could be an option. I think Silk Touch would be a really good option, but that costs another star. And as much as I know I could definitely kill a wither at this point, I probably don't want to do that just yet. Oh yeah, and it also costs more power, which is the thing we're trying to avoid. Now, speaking of power, we can actually infuse the builder here with the dimensional shards, and this will actually reduce the amount of power that will be consumed. You can see right here, infusion bonus will reduce power consumption and increase its speed. So it's kind of a win-win to do this if you have enough shards. And I think you really only need like 2 stacks of shards to fully infuse something. So it would definitely be worth placing this down, and we are going to need some base power. So actually, let's go ahead and put this over here, right? And we're going to have this working while we're working on other things, right? That's going to start to build up. We put the machine in and we put the shards in, and these are going to slowly but surely start infusing our builder. Now, this step isn't 100% necessary, but it is going to help later on. Now, after taking a look at that, it looks like it's going to take about 4 stacks actually. And so I'm going to go run around, basically around the lava level. And this is a really good level, by the way, to be able to find those dimensional shards. Now, with a little bit of fortune, yeah, we should be able to collect quite a bit. So now, perfect. We have 100% infused builder, but I don't want to start mining in this dimension, right? I mean, there's nothing really stopping me from just mining underneath my base and just potentially destroying every single ore block underneath me. But what if I did it in another area? And that's where those other nuggets from all the modium really are going to shine, right? Because there is a mining dimension that is a part of the all the modium mod. And as I mentioned last episode, it is the teleport pad that actually takes you to several different dimensions. So we will eventually be making more of these as we go along. But yeah, it's fairly cheap. It's going to use more of those nuggets. Remember, we used 4 for this. We have 1 left over here. But this will take you to the other if you place this in the nether and go to it. If you're in the end, it'll take you to the beyond. With the end in the beyond, by the way, is a void dimension. So if you're really wanting that skyblock feel, the void dimension is really cool. And I think it's also like everything's lit up as well, which is kind of weird, but yeah, you're in a void dimension. But in the overworld, if we use this, this is going to do something a little bit different. It's going to send us to the beautiful mining dimension. And if I remember correctly, this shares basically all 3 dimensions stacked on top of each other in this dimension. So up at the top levels, you have the overworld, and then it goes a little bit to the nether, and then at the very bottom is the end. I mean, things may have been changed since then, but that's how it was last time I played. What I'm going to do is I'm going to place my pedestal down right here. You don't need this, but this is for decoration, and I would just want to use it to place my teleport pad, so I just don't have the pad directly on the ground. And there we go. So now we have the ability to click this, just right click it, and that should teleport us. I think it's shift right click maybe, or regular right click. Shift right click? Shift right click. So shift right click takes us to the mining dimension. Now, this area I would not recommend for building your base. I mean, but really it's up to you, right? It's because of the dimension color. It is poop brown, basically. It is a poop brownish green. It is a very gross looking color, but it's not about the color of this dimension, it's about the functionality of this dimension. And so I just mined down here to just make sure that it eventually goes to the nether and the end, and as you can see right here, it 100% does. So yes, this is a very, very high mining dimension. It goes all the way up, like the actual Y level that we start on is like in the 200s, right? Like right near build height. It's very, very high up. 253 blocks is where we're standing. So yeah, this is something we're gonna have to account for when using the builder. So for right now, let's go ahead and place this bad boy down and let's take a look at how this works. So as of right now, there's nothing set up. We don't have any power going into this. We're telling it basically nothing at all. So to be able to define the working area, we can do this a couple of different ways. We can go ahead and we can shift right click on this. And whenever we do this, we're locking the position of the builder itself. And then we can go ahead and select a corner. For example, this corner, and then we can select another corner. Let's say we build up a little bit and we go, okay, we want to mine up here, and we select that. You can also go down, by the way. Whenever we put this in, we should be able to then render a preview of the said selected area. So this is kind of how that works, right? So now we have a selected area outlined, and of course we can click the support preview to remove that. And this is going to be how we work this out. So what I typically like to do is I like to take my shape and I like to shift right click it and then set my first corner. For example, we can go all the way over here. I can say this is my first corner, and then all the way out here, I can go, here's my second corner, right? I don't have to set a super large area. This is sort of big enough, right? Now, those areas are defined, and inside of the GUI here, we have the dimensions set right here, and then we have our offset that we're going to have to worry about. Now, don't let these numbers scare you because they're really not that complicated. The only real number that we really need to worry about right here is going to be the vertical position, which is this number right here. Now, the reason the middle number is set to 1 is because we only selected this block height right here. So just a single block high in our little setup. And we can actually see that whenever we hit that support preview. You can see this is the only block selected. And if I break the bottom, for example, and then I redo the preview, we'll actually see that again, that yeah, there's nothing else there, just a single block tall. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are completely aware of how to do all of the customizations for this, so you can definitely skip ahead if you know what you're doing. This is mainly for those who this might be their first mod pack, or this might be their first experience with the RF Tools builder. So now let's get into the fun part, right? Defining the area. And we can do this by expanding this first. Let's set this to, for example, 15 blocks tall. For example, place this in there and we can now see the preview has expanded, but this isn't 15 blocks tall. And that's where the bottom number really comes into play. See, when we originally shift right click that card onto the builder, we set it as its center point essentially. And it is in respects to the center position of the builder, which is based on the current Y value that we're at. So when we start to modify this number, we kind of want this number to be basically half of what we have defined here in the negatives if we want it to go underground, that is. So I just set that number to -7, and now whenever I preview it, you can see it went completely down. But if I was to make this +7, and by the way, I'm not clicking this button because right now it will cause crashes, may not in the future, but as of right now it does. If I go ahead and make this a +7, then most of that 15 should be on the surface. So placing that back in, we can now see that looks more like 15 blocks. So now if we want to make a quarry that's 253 blocks tall and covers the entirety of this area, how would we go about doing that? Well, we definitely at first want to define the area as being 256 blocks tall. Now that is quite a tall structure, but we need it to go now down underground. And now if you really wanted to be simple about it, you could count all of these blocks leading up and just subtract that basically from the offset on this value right here. Or what we can do is we can now take that value that we set it to, this number, and just basically divide it in half. So if we do -128, which is half of this value, that should now basically be in the position that we want, with this being the topmost block. And I know, ooh, math. But this is actually a really good skill to learn. So now I have my quarry defined, but we haven't really set anything to mine, right? And what it will do right now is it will just mine everything that's in here, right? In the shape that we defined. As soon as we give this power, it's just going to start mining and filling up a container that goes on top. But I don't necessarily want to mine everything just yet. Because what if there's like certain things that we really just want? Like, let's say we just need a bunch of diamonds right now and we want to quickly gather those. Well, we can actually define that inside of this filter slot. So let's go ahead and learn how to set this filter up. So when we click this, you'll notice that this GUI is kind of open here, and we can do a couple of different things. We can add tags directly, which is what I definitely recommend. I don't think we can drag directly from JEI, but if you had the block in your inventory, you can shift right click it into here. And this is going to set up a whitelist filter. Now, right from the start, we can go ahead and add tags, and we can kind of search in here, diamonds. And you can see right here, there is C dust. C is basically the new common tag for specific things. So C ores diamond is actually what we're looking for. And this is going to be in relation to every sort of ore in the game. So C ores / iron or gold and so on and so forth. And this should allow you to specifically search for these ores. And as soon as I click this, double click this, you'll see we now have a tag for everything related to diamonds. And whenever this goes in this slot, that is the only thing that this builder is actually going to mine when it does its scan. And this should save us on a ton of power if we're doing specific ore lookups like this. But let's go ahead and get our barrel on here and get the lever on here. We have just about everything ready to go, right? We have an inventory for things to go in. We have redstone signal to turn it on, but we're missing the primary thing, right? That it needs. Power. And a few episodes ago, we set up this power, but is this the best option for power? And the more I looked in the configs, the more I have to say, yes, this is great because it has a charging slot and has been fantastic for allowing me to charge my batteries. But there is a competitor to this emerald generator, and they can basically do the same thing, by the way, but it generates a little bit more power. And that is going to be the iron furnaces mod. But wait a minute. Furnace mod? That's just a furnace. Well, it can actually be a generator, believe it or not. And now if I'm reading this config right, like a diamond furnace, for example, with the generator upgrade in it, will produce 240 RF per tick. And then an emerald, for example, will do 320 RF per tick. The obsidian will do 500 RF per tick. And the netherite will do 1,000 RF per tick. And it can all run off of lava buckets. And I can definitely make the obsidian furnace, and I 100% believe that I can actually make the netherite as well. I do have debris that we farmed up last episode with that method, and with our hammer, we can actually make quite a bit of this, right? There's 1, there's 2, there's 3, and there's 4, and still some left over to go hunt for more if need be. And just like that, bam, we have ourselves now a netherite furnace that can produce 1,000 RF per tick if the configs are correct. And now to make this actually work like a generator, we have to have the augment generator, which just requires a repeater. It's so cheap to make. And this will go inside of this. And this now has an inventory slot that can be pulled and pushed from. These, unfortunately, I do not believe work, but you can pipe from it. And we grab a bucket. Let's see, one of these. Let's grab a little bit of lava and let's just see what this looks like whenever we put this in here, because this is going to be actually ridiculous, right? Inside of here, it just is producing 1,000 a tick. Like we're already at 100K. It's so quick. And because we can generate lava indefinitely, this process is going to be very easy to set up. And it looks like it generates even faster with a speed upgrade inside. Now, I think I've come up with a much more elegant version of this that actually doesn't require any of the Ender IO conduits in the back, meaning less configuration, meaning you can scale this up a little bit easier. The way that this is going to work is we're still going to use a fluid drawer on the bottom, much like so. And then inside of here, we're going to have 2 dripstone upgrades and a pusher upgrade. Now, you can put 3 dripstone upgrades in here that will produce 60 every second, it does seem like, but this should be more than enough for right now. The pusher upgrade is going to send up into our pressurized tank our actual lava. Now, you may be wondering, well, can't this actually pull the fluids? Well, I tried it, and for some reason, it wasn't actually pulling any of the fluids into the Ender IO pressurized tank. So something to kind of keep a note. Now, the furnace is going to go on top of this. So just like so, on the top configuration, we want this to be set to push-pull. And the way that this is going to work, right? We are going to have this flipped into generator. Then it's also going to have a speed upgrade. We'll clear all of the slots by holding shift and reset all. Set this to the purple slot input. And we just need to give it a bucket. But there's a problem. Whenever we do this bucket and we send this to here, it's actually going to put it in this top left slot for whatever reason. But we can block it from going in there if I just put the one item that can go into here, and that is a bottle. Now, you notice XP juice went in here, and that's because, yeah, we actually have to have some lava in here before we can actually get this started, right? So let's switch the bottom mode. I have it currently set to push-pull. Just set it to none. Not going to matter. There we go. So now we can put the XP bottle in the top here. And so long as this doesn't run out of lava, we shouldn't have to worry about this. This is forever going to stay in this slot and shouldn't end up filling up. So all we're left with is just putting the fuel bucket in there. And notice it sent it back in and actually went into the right side. And there we go. We just have it constantly looping. Now, I don't know if the speed upgrade is going to be able to handle the amount of lava that's going through here, but yeah, this hopefully whenever the buffer fills up should be good. We'll have to kind of test and see if we have enough lava for this. If not, we can always make more of these. This thing's producing like a sustainable 1,000 RF per tick or more. This is actually kind of ridiculous. So let's actually put this to good use. So right here, I will go ahead and get that exact same setup placed in. Thankfully, all of these things hold their config. And yeah, just like so. This is the only one that doesn't. We actually have to modify this just to make sure the input is set for fuel. And everything is ready to go, right? We just have to put the bucket back in. Perfect. And then go ahead and start to get the power from here into our builder. And is this automatic? Let's see on these cables. It's automatic extract. We have to make sure always active. And then insert is enabled here. It's not actually sending power. Okay. Does that mean this needs to be set to output to get power out? Yes. Okay, so the output actually does matter. Look how fast that transferred. That's so quick, but I don't think we're going to have enough lava, and this bottle is really going to break this if that's the case. Actually, instead of an XP bottle, it might be best just to have a glass bottle in here, and then it will never fill up, and so we don't have to worry about this actually putting XP juice inside of our, well, container. You know what? For right now, I'm also going to take out the speed upgrade because that is going to cost significantly more lava, I believe, in order to operate. So let's go ahead and just turn this on. And we are going to see some information here. It's going to be scanning those individual chunks. And already we've acquired 10 diamonds in just that short amount of time. And so far, it seems like this is keeping up. This is going to use quite a bit of power, by the way. I think it like maxes out at 20,000 RF per tick or something like that. But yeah, it should be mining really fast. You can see right here. And it's also not going to be using as much power as it would have been if we didn't actually infuse it. Now you may be wondering, will this actually mine all the modium and stuff? And the answer to that is supposedly no. We're not supposed to be able to use quarries on those things. Just something to kind of note. But after this little setup right here, I am significantly richer than I was just a few moments ago. When it comes to chunk loading, the main thing that we actually need to chunk load is just the builder itself, not necessarily the chunks that you have at mining. Now, when this runs out of power, and it definitely will at some point, it will say not enough power, but that doesn't mean it's not functioning. It just means it's not going to be running at its optimal speed as if you were giving it enough power, and should just run nonstop. Now, you know what? I tried to get this working earlier, and for some reason, this was not actually pulling in the liquids, but I did go ahead and set this to all 3 dripstone upgrades, and it's now actually pulling the lava in. But yeah, that's actually better because that means that you can put all 3 of them in there and you're now generating what would be, I believe, 246? Yeah, 60 millibuckets every operation. Interesting. I think I know why it wasn't actually working. So if there's no fluid in its buffer, it won't pull from the drawer down here. So there has to be some fluid in the buffer, otherwise it will not pull anymore. But you know what? With the 3 upgrades, this is 100% sustainable now because this number is actually increasing every operation. So it just went up to 2 buckets. And so if that keeps up, then that means that 3 is perfectly capable of keeping up with a single netherite furnace without the speed augment inside. So now to be able to gather all of the things, we are probably going to want a compression upgrade. And this is so good for these farms. The advanced compacting upgrade means that all of this will eventually compact into block form. And that also means the ores themselves and is going to be 100% worth doing. I think I can take all of these out, for example, and let's see, put them back in. Is it going to automatically do it? It should. As soon as it receives enough to do another block, I think it will automatically calculate and then recompact all of them. But with that being said, we have not actually gotten through all of the chunks, and this is how many diamonds we've gotten so far. I'm thinking, though, we can go ahead and actually just have this start mining everything else. So here's where things get interesting. I'm going to go ahead and take this filter, and then I'm going to remove what we have here. Go into the tags, and we're going to do ores. And we're just going to do C ores. And what this is going to do is every single ore that exists that has that tag will now be mineable. So what I can do is I should be able to click this to reset the Y value and start it anew. And whenever we give this a level, a signal, this is going to start mining everything. And I mean everything. So it's at this point that I really need to focus on gathering as many diamonds as I can for this, because we're really going to want to upgrade this barrel with some stack upgrades. Don't get me wrong, the compression upgrade is a tremendous help, but oh, we are going to need some space. So the process of making some stack upgrades, and I think I might make 2 for this barrel. And if I can make at least 2 diamond stack upgrades, I think we'll be just fine. And thankfully I mined up those diamonds first, because now I have 2 stack upgrades that I can insert now into this barrel, giving me a tremendous amount of space, right? And by the way, we're also mining ancient debris, like, because there's nether underneath there. There's not going to be a lot of it, but it's still going to be able to mine it down there. But to put it in perspective, now that we have those 2 stack upgrades, each one of these slots can hold 16,000 items per slot. pretty darn cool. I think this is going to be great. Now, I know while I've been in this dimension for quite a while and we've basically been working on getting the builder up and running, I do want to say the builder can do more than just ores, right? So I know that I always find myself not actually utilizing this for more tasks, but if you wanted to, for example, clear an entire forest, yeah, that filter card would allow you to literally chop down the entirety of that forest and collect everything from it, like all of the logs, right? Just targeting the logs specifically, and you could annihilate an entire forest. And I'm actually kind of planning on doing that in the future. I think that'll be kind of cool. And we can target just C logs, right? You can still use those tags. Should probably call that episode like Deforestation with ChosenArchitect. Yeah, I'm sure that'll go over well. So now, as much as I enjoy being in this poop brown green dimension, I think it's time to say farewell to this setup, right? And just kind of let it set it and forget about it and really just come back here whenever we need more resources. Now, I know I haven't done a whole lot of building just yet, and that's mainly because I haven't done a whole lot of resource collecting just yet. But now that we've unlocked the builder, and we've unlocked that potential for collecting resources to build with, oh, things are going to accelerate from here, and you could definitely expect a nice juicy build in the future. At least the start of one, that is, right? That's kind of what the whole idea of playing Minecraft in general is all about, in my opinion, is building cool things. But now that I have like the infrastructure for it, things are really going to start to, like I said, flesh out, and I'm really excited for this. And I hope you guys are as well. And of course, if you are excited for that and you're looking forward to new episodes just like this one, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already. And well, guys, give this video a huge thumbs up. And hopefully you take this setup that I set up today and you put it to good use in your own world. Guys, it's now time to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Kit. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by, of course, becoming a Discord premium member and supporting in one of the best ways possible. Guys, check me out on Twitch if you haven't already. Follow me over there. I would really appreciate it. Join the Discord. We have an amazing community. And guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.